Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you to this short presentation. Our presentation is a gradebook in Moodle, and your presenter is Mr. Swallow. Yes, so what we have in this section, this is our presentation outline. We are going to be looking at how to locate the gradebook, and also we shall be looking at the gradebook view. This is the grader report, and we'll be looking at scales. What this means is that Moodle already has a setup scale for grading, which is let's say 100%, but sometimes you may want to give other types of scales, so this allows you to create your own scales that you feel like for your course. And then we'll also look at how to import the gradebook. Our importing here means we are going to transfer the gradebook from Moodle to an Excel file, which you can then save and work on it. Okay, so let's proceed. Yes, so now this is the page that you normally find when you log into your course, but sometimes if it's not like this, it means you have to click here to see other courses or other menus. So for us to be able to access the gradebook, we need to click here on these three lines, and immediately you have a new menu that comes up, which shows a number of things, including the participants. Our main interest here is the grades. So you click here on grades so that we see what students have done, and see also the marks that you have already given them. You can close this to have more space to work on. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is our grader report, and in this class there were 17 participants, and it shows the first name and the surname. If it's a large class, you can always search names using the first names and the surname. So here we can see that here are our names of the students. On this side you also have their email addresses in case you need to communicate with them. This is an assignment, and this is the mark that they got. So this goes throughout depending on the number of assignments that one has given them. You can check all the way to the bottom. Now, if a student has not done any work, normally it will show zeros here. In this class, I had used a scale starting with a 0.5, but otherwise normally it should be a 0 here instead of a 0.5. And at the bottom, normally it shows the average of each task given. So depending on how the students have scored, it shows the average for all the learners. Now, for you to see the other things, you have to come to the bottom and scroll to the right. Now this you can see there are different types of numbers here. You can also have numbers which are higher than 20 if a task was, out of 30 or something like that, it will also show. And the test results are also appearing here. So those who did the test, if they didn't miss the test, depending on how much you were giving them for the tests, the results also show here. Then on the last column here, this is a course total. So this is done automatically by the system. There will be a time, once you get used to this, you should be able to change how the course total would look like. But normally it may show some decimals sometimes, but in this case the setup shows the full number. So basically that is the view of the grader report. Now there are other things that you may want to check, and on our menu here, this is where you choose the different things that you'd like to check or to change. So if you click here once, it will show the topmost, which is the grader report. You can look at the history. I've not worked much with outcomes reports and all these, but you could also look at a single view or user report. There's a grade setup. This part I prefer that once you are more familiar in working in Moodle, that you can play around with the gradebook setup. Otherwise, most things are already set up by the system. Now here we do have scales. I mentioned about scales. If you want to create your own scale, so you click here where it says view, and it will open course scales. Now you have a custom scale. This is a custom scale that I created myself. Basically what I did was to give it a name, which is a 20%, and I start with a 0.5, but you could start with a 0.0. What this means is that let's say a student gets a 9, or one gets a 10, but you don't want to give them a 10. You say, no, let me give them a 9.5, But if you don't have a scale, it means one can get 8, 9, 10. So the scale kinds of helps you to minimize high scores, or to gauge how a student has performed. So you create this on a Word document, and then you just come and paste it here. Basically, if you want to do that, you can click add a new scale, and then you give it a name. You give it a name here. You can look whether it's a standard scale. You can check if there's a standard one, and then here you can also get some help with the scale. So you give it a name, and here is where you put the scale, and here you describe the scale that you are going to be using. So I'm not creating a new scale now, so I'm going to cancel that. So this is basically, it's also important that you know how to do the scale. So we go back here to view. The last thing that I want to look at is importing or exporting. Yes, in our presentation outline I said import, but basically we mean export. So in this case, you want to export this grade book to to Excel. So you can use the Open Document spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet. You just click there. Now, in this page, you should choose the items that you want to export. So you need to know some of these, for example, they are there in the system, but no work was done. So I've not done my checking to see which one that I need, which one I don't. But if there was no makeup test or another task was not done, you uncheck all of them. But make sure that the course total is checked. Now this is very important here. You need to have export format options. Normally, if you have suspended users, you can exclude them. Whether you want to use real numbers or percentages, it's up to you. And here you have the decimal places that you want. Normally for me, I put it at the 0 decimal places. And then I click download. So your Excel file will be downloading. And then as you can see here at the bottom, it is downloading. Then after that, you should be able to access it and change it or set it up nicely. Okay, so that's basically what we have for the gradebook. I'll just show you just briefly how to access the file we've just exported. Okay, so we are now in Excel, and we need to click File, and then we are going to Open, where we are going to browse so that we find where we saved our files, and normally it will go to downloads unless otherwise specified. You click downloads, and here it is. This is our file. We click on it and we click open, and our file will open. Yes, so these are the file, and you can see everything is here. So it's up to you now how to make it nice by removing some of the blank spaces or the email addresses, the department, and some of these blank areas. You can also remove this last part, but make sure the course total remains. Okay, so for now I think we'll stop here for our lesson, and we've come to the end of our session on grades. Okay, thank you very much.